Sorry, this is just turning into me complaining about Stranger Things. So hello, welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things, so subscribe if that's your vibe. So this is kind of part of a series that I'm starting that is where I let AI generate video ideas for me. So I downloaded this app thing that helps me dig deeper into my YouTube analytics and sort of test topics and see how the competition is, and it's just an interesting app to help develop video ideas in general, but it does give me 3 free ideas every day that are just random of like good ideas for you to do for your YouTube channel. Most of the time, no, all of the time, these are super random, make no sense. I'm gonna put out a video that's just kind of like a miscellaneous array of these topics, but there was a couple of topics that were along the same theme that I wanted to make a separate video on. This is an AI generated video idea, but it's my top 10 Netflix recommendations. That was the topic it suggested. There was another topic recently that was also Netflix recommendations, because why not? I decided to just go for it and off the top of my head give you my Netflix recommendations. This is just a fun video. It's not like super thought out. I may be missing very important Netflix things I really love here and there, but I'm just gonna try my best. And I'm gonna keep this to Netflix originals because the content that isn't Netflix original sort of comes and goes to Netflix, so I don't want this video to be like outdated tomorrow when they take off Community or whatever. So at number 10, I'm gonna put Love is Blind. I recently made a video about the reunion special episodes they did called After the Altar for Love is Blind, and it's definitely a show I hate watch. I had a lot of comments in my video that agreed that they also like to criticize it and have fun, but it's honestly a very innovative dating show. It pushes boundaries on the dating reality TV genre, and I gotta give it to them. Even though it's very stupid and produced, that's what we love, and it's an innovative concept. I gotta give it to them, and it had success. I mentioned this in my other video, but the success that Love is Blind had with some of their couples legitimized their format quite a lot, and I think it surprised even the creators and the producers of Love is Blind. I think they expected it to be a more like throwaway type show, but it ended up being like, oh, this is a big thing that we can roll with for a long time. Excited to see what they come up with for season 2. Next at number 9, I'm going to put the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy of teen movies. They're very cheesy teen movies, but they are based on books and I think overall are good quality. The second one is actually trash, so I don't recommend that, but I recommend 1 and 3. It's a very cute story. It's cheesy teen romance, but it's cute and well done, except for the second one. I'll throw in another teen movie that I like, and that is The Half of It. That's also a Netflix original. That's a good one. It's a little more moody and hipster, I would say, but it's a cute actually movie. I think it is also based on a book, so the ones based on books are usually the best ones. If it's Shakespeare, it's bonus points. So at number 8, I'm gonna put My Queen and her documentary called 5'2". Lady Gaga did this documentary, I think in 2018. It was kind of documenting a point in her career that was a bit of like a between things lull. It was like she got asked to be in A Star is Born at the beginning and then ended with the Super Bowl performance of early 2019. And it was just really great to see sort of like how she is recently. I mean, there's a lot of interviews of Gaga in her early days, and she's very different. She's matured a lot nowadays, and she talks a lot about her chronic health issues that we don't get to hear too much about as fans. So I really liked that documentary. It's more of a personal one for me, but she really bears it all for us, literally and figuratively. So at number 7, I'm gonna put a rom-com, which I think is my favorite rom-com that Netflix has made. I don't like Netflix rom-coms very much. I prefer their teen movies. Even their teen movies are questionable, but their rom-coms can be a little formulaic, but this one I really liked. It's called Someone Great, and it stars Gina Rodriguez. It definitely It gives a little bit of girl boss vibes, which I'm not too into. It's very like the diverse friend group in New York City that became popular in the late 2010s. But this movie is actually one of my favorite underrated movies that deal with breakup concepts and grief themes. It's honestly a movie I've gone back to and find kind of comforting in those moments. I actually watched it like, oh god, this is so sad. I don't want to say this, but I watched it when my cat was about to be put down. Rest in peace, Lena. I watched this movie because I remembered it dealt with themes of grief in a very honest and real way that wasn't like this rom-com where she was gonna end up with the guy at the end necessarily. It was more like focusing on herself and the breakup. So it was a very, very good movie, I thought, especially for a rom-com. It was definitely unexpected in that it didn't follow this exact formula, but it was still lighthearted and funny. They also had a very cool use of colored lighting throughout the whole movie, and I enjoyed that a lot. All of the flashbacks had very intense, like, cool colors forming the lighting. Very cool. So at number 7, I'm gonna put a comedy special that I don't think many people have heard of. There's actually 2 from the same comedian, and her name is Hannah Gadsby. You may not have heard of her. I think she's Australian. She has an accent. She's Australian, I believe, and she has a comedy special called Nanette and a comedy special called Douglas that are very interesting. I mean, her comedy is very sharp, and also like she talks a lot about her sexuality. She's a lesbian, and also her autism in her second special, and she's very much a comedian, but also sneaks in these deep emotional themes that just catch you so off guard. And it's just like she's such a master of playing with emotions and understanding comedy at like a meta level. Like she is meta as hell. I know a lot of people praise and have heard of Bo Burnham and his comedy on Netflix, but I recommend you check out Hannah Gadsby because she's very, very intellectual and meta, very different from Bo Burnham, but she just understands emotion and how comedy intertwines with it so well. That first special in Nanette just really takes you on a whole journey and roller coaster. It's a very standard format of her doing stand-up. She is very, very cool, and I'm a big fan of her, so I recommend it. I feel like that one's underrated. So next at number 6, I'm gonna put, I hope I'm on number 6, I'm gonna put Black Mirror here in the Netflix seasons. Honestly, I don't recommend all Black Mirror episodes, so if you don't know, it's a sci-fi drama that's an anthology series, so each episode is a new story. It's basically like a mini movie. Some of them are as long as movies, so they're just a movie. Black Mirror shows like sci-fi dystopian scenarios that are very scary and unsettling, sometimes gory, so it's not my favorite. I just wanted to include a little diversity and have a little drama here, or sci-fi, whatever, because my tastes are pretty lighthearted, but honestly, I remember Black Mirror when the first Netflix season came out, which is season 3 of the series. It just took the world by storm, and it was so fascinating. That first episode called Nosedive with what's-her-face, Bryce Dallas Howard, was just so unsettling and so good, and that whole season I think was pretty good. There were some better episodes than others. After those seasons though, I kind of fell off of Black Mirror. I think society became too dystopian in real life that I just gave up on wanting that kind of entertainment, to be honest. I think that's really what happened, because I was just like, nothing can top real life, so I'm gonna just watch, reality TV or whatever. There's this one Black Mirror episode that came out later called, I forget what it's called, but it's the one with Miley Cyrus and Ashley O. It's a movie, actually, like an hour and a half episode, standalone. I think that one's underrated. I think it was misunderstood by critics or by the audience. I see it as a parody of like Disney Channel movies, but maybe that's just me reading too far into it. But if you look at it with that lens, I think it becomes very funny. Like it's like a twisted Disney Channel original movie. Maybe rewatch it with that lens, and you would feel differently about it. But I know a lot of people didn't like it, so I don't blame you if you didn't. So unfortunately, I have lost track of my list. I think I'm on number 5 or number 4. But next I have the reality show The Circle, which I think is my favorite Netflix reality show. I think this one is just a solid competition reality show. Like, the format is very all over the place, like in a good way, that it's not super formulaic the way a lot of competitive reality TV is. It's not like the same every single episode. They bring in new people, they switch it up a lot. So I like that sort of unpredictableness. I think it's what keeps it sort of interesting. When the concept, when you hear about it, seems a little dull. It's just basically people in quarantine talking to each other over just group chats. It doesn't sound too interesting, but it actually is super interesting the way they show it. They have a lot of spin-offs of other countries, which I haven't watched and I don't really care to, but I really enjoyed the 2 US seasons that are out. I recommend both. I'm excited to see more of it. Also, the narrator, Michelle Buteau, is really funny. All around, they do a good job, I think, casting very different people. It's fun to see people be catfishes and pretend to be other people. So next I have the OG show that made Netflix what it is. Not really, because I feel like Orange is the New Black is that show, and I never watched that one. It seemed too dramatic for me. But next on my list is Stranger Things. I think a lot of people have watched it, so I don't need to go on about it too much. Stranger Things really moved me quite a bit when I watched it. I actually really loved the second season. I think it's the least favorite among most people that watch it, but I really liked season 2. It really inspired me. It inspired me to start a podcast with Cameron that went on for like over a year. It really inspired a lot in me. It inspired a love of television. Unfortunately, I didn't love season 3. I thought it was very repetitive of the first 2 seasons. And I didn't like how they split up the cast. I felt like there was unanswered questions with the sci-fi stuff, so it just didn't give me everything I wanted. I liked the aesthetics and the first couple episodes, but also like all the emphasis on rush hour is like weird. Like, I'm not into it, and I'm unfortunately not so excited for season 4. They're finally starting to tease it after like 3 years, but I saw this TikTok recently and a lot of discourse on this in general, but like basically the sentiment is we're over it. We don't want it at this point. Like, not really. I don't mean that, but also like it's been too long. And season 3 didn't give me a lot of faith that this new season's gonna be great. Like, I'm not into the Russia storyline. Spoiler alert for Stranger Things. At the end of season 1, they had this gag where it looked like Eleven died, and then in season 2, we find out she didn't. I hate that they reused that for Hopper in season 3, and I immediately knew when I saw season 3, when he died, that he was not dead. There was no body. And TV, always remember, no body, no death. I hated that they pulled the same thing again. I was annoyed that people fell for it again. Because obviously he didn't die. Like, they made it so emotional, like trying to make me cry about it. And I just couldn't. No body, no death. Like, at least make it believable. And then they teased really fast afterwards that he wasn't dead. So sorry, this is just turning into me complaining about Stranger Things. So it's sad because it really sparked a lot of love in me for television, and now has sort of disappointed me. I feel like it's run its course, I'm sad to say. Now I'm down to my last 2, and it's hard. I don't know which one to put first, but the next on my list is One Day at a Time, and that is a sitcom that was pretty unfairly canceled on Netflix, but it did have a good run-ish. I think it had 2 full seasons, maybe even 3 full seasons on Netflix, and it's a sitcom about a Cuban American family. I just really loved this show. I think it did a good job of showing diversity in an authentic way. It definitely came around at a time when there was a lot of push for diverse shows, and some diverse shows or forced diversity in like white protagonist teen movies or shows or whatever felt inauthentic, because it just felt a little bit like a quota, which is still better than nothing, but it's not ideal. So I think One Day at a Time did a really good job. I mean, the writers and showrunners are of the same background as the characters, so I think it makes sense why it feels authentic, and I think it did amazing. It's really funny, it's a sitcom, and well, for me it was very relatable. It was exactly the same family structure that I grew up in, like a single mom, a little brother, and a grandma all living in one smallish space. That was just very cool. This one of the first times I see like my exact family replicated in media. It meant a lot to me, and there were so many plot lines that were very relatable. I showed it to my mom, she loved it as well. And honestly, I see the mom in One Day at a Time. Like, I have a lot of attachment to her because she reminds me of my mom. It's weird. They just wrote it really, really well. And finally, on my list, I have a show that I've already talked a lot about, and that is Never Have I Ever. That is a show about a young Indian girl who is navigating, first of all, the grief of losing her father, and just her culture, her family, her friends, her love life, and it's just very, very funny. It's written by Mindy Kaling. The character definitely represents sort of a young Mindy Kaling energy. I have a whole video about season 2. It's really great for representation and busting sort of stereotypes about South Asian women. And that's another show where I feel kind of represented. I'm not South Asian myself, but I related a lot as a Mexican person to this family as well. Like, just the strict single mom and just the family dynamics of navigating like American culture and another culture of like your family just felt very relatable. The main character in Never Have I Ever is what really sells the show for me. She's so dynamic and charming and messy and hilarious. So I definitely recommend this show. I know it's a teen show. It has great music in it and just a great cast, and it's just a very, very fun show. It's also pretty short. The seasons are all like 10 episodes long of like 20-minute episodes, so it's like 5 hours total for each season. So it's kind of like almost like watching 4 movies of a series, if you think of it that way. I don't think that's better, but it's a really cute show. So those are my top 10 Netflix recommendations. I hope I didn't miss a number. I might have missed a number. I'm sorry if I did. I hope it's 10 of them. I'll give an honorable mention to Community, which is not a Netflix original show, so that's why I don't want to say it, but it's a sitcom that is available on Netflix as of recording this video, and one I watched during the pandemic. It's definitely from 2009 to 2012, which were very messy pop culture years. So it definitely is problematic in many ways in the dialogue and situations we see, but it's just like, it's also such a smart show and has some very interesting moments, and has definitely changed my life in ways I'll get into in some other video at some point. But it really, especially after season 1, it like becomes a parody of every kind of television show and format and movies. It references a ton of movies. Like, it changes up its format and genre all the time. Like, sometimes it's an action movie, sometimes it's a musical, sometimes it's like a drama, a true crime thing. Like, they really play with the format. I recommend Community. I know it's not a Netflix original, but it's an honorable mention to the list. So those are my Netflix recommendations. Please let me know, what are your Netflix recommendations for me? I think you can maybe gather my taste from this list. I would love to hear if you have any shows you think I might like. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos twice a week about pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. And you can follow me at Miscellaneous on Twitter or Instagram to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.